Salt marshes are important ecosystems for a number of reasons. These ecosystems help to absorb energy from storms and waves. They provide habitat for wildlife. They provide nursery habitat for fish. And they also are important for water quality and filtration. So we're here at a marsh called Ocean View Farm in Dartmouth, Massachusetts. And we're standing here in the high marsh where you can see species such as Disticlus and Spartina patens. In the low marsh where you see this taller vegetation, you have Spartina alterniflora. We connect out here to a system of dunes and beaches and a large pond called Allen's Pond. We know that diamondback terrapins use this marsh, as well as salt marsh sparrows and seaside sparrows. And these species are all of high conservation concern as their numbers have been doing less well over the past few decades. While this marsh looks beautiful, its extensive vegetation extends as far as the eye can see, it does have some issues. As with many marshes along the East Coast, accelerated sea level rise is beginning to threaten them. Here, a combination of accelerated sea level rise as well as legacy effects from agriculture and other activities humans had in the marsh together are leading to expanding areas of shallow water in the marsh. This water can't drain off as easily as it could before, and where that water sits, it begins to kill the vegetation. Across this marsh, you see small, maybe 10 to 15 yard across areas of exposed sediment where the vegetation has all died. These expand over time and threaten the marsh, effectively leading to the marsh eating itself from the inside out as these systems grow. And one other very important factor to discuss is mosquito breeding habitat. So a major reason these areas of shallow water, expanding shallow water are a problem is their ideal mosquito breeding habitat, which of course is a public health concern. Yeah, so I'll show you what we're doing out here is testing an adaptation technique called runneling. And effectively, it is just creating a small meandering channel that can drain these areas of dieback and impounded water out to the creek.
So here's our tiny little bit of flow. So this is only about 3 inches versus about the runnel leading into the impounded water areas maybe about 6 inches.
Once that water is able to drain out of these dieback shallow water areas, the vegetation can begin to grow back. While this approach has been used and a lot has been learned, we don't have a lot of hard data to actually use to measure the response and tie it to the specific runnels that were actually dug. So what we're doing as a part of this study is monitoring locations where there is dieback occurring and we use a runnel to treat it, and locations where we are not using a runnel. So we have some reference sites as well. We monitored those this past summer, and we will go out again next summer and hopefully for another 3 to 5 years come out and monitor and see how all of these different factors and attributes of the marsh are changing over time.
A layer of sediment.
Yeah.
And we can tell that this was vegetated because when you dig down, you can just feel the old roots.
Yeah.
And you can see the old roots in the peat.
So Bristol County Mosquito Control have their low ground pressure excavator, and it is a special piece of equipment that only has 1.9 pounds per square inch of pressure across the marsh surface. And to put that in context, humans are typically around 15 pounds per square inch. So this is a very low pressure piece of equipment designed especially for working in marshes. Well, what would be the best angle to do?
So we're going to come in over. That's not the arrow. Is not the right spot.
I'm going to come
so
straight on and straddle it.
Doing this one's better first, and then moving over here with the excavator. So we had folks out here helping to use the excavator to dig these runnels. Then we had people with shovels helping to fine-tune those. So extending them, adding meanders, and helping to clean out the runnel itself, any peat clods that have fallen in. This is an adaptive management technique, and the meaning there is It's not a one and done. It takes repeated visits and management and maintenance. But we'll come out probably between 1 to 4 times between now and next growing season to actually come check on the runnels, see how they're doing, and clean up anything that a storm has moved or otherwise filled or clogged the runnels. So since these runnels were installed last week, it appears that the water levels in some of the diebacks are beginning to drop. We will have to monitor over the course of the winter to really see what that looks like over a number of different tides at a number of different heights. But we are optimistic that the initial effect we're seeing is an indicator that these will effectively decrease the water level and allow revegetation to take hold next summer.